Super positive. I think they will report exactly the same thing. I think every time we come here, we're super surprised by the quality of the companies and the potential. I think one of the traits that we've noticed, these companies start always with this kind of mentality, oh, I'm just a small Slovenian company, nobody's going to look at me. And then as they develop and they start putting the facts, the hard facts behind their companies, realize how good they are on a European stage. So same thing happened this time. They started very humble. And then as it grew, they realized, oh, actually, I can build a really, really good business out of this. So we're now in day 3, which is normally the hardest. And it's the day where we have disassembled everything, their storyline, their messaging, their numbers. We changed the trajectory. And some of them feel like, I came in, I had something. It was not great, but it was something. Now I've got nothing left. And then we're rebuilding from this afternoon. I think it's a great question because half of the job that we do typically is psychology driven. There's this huge humility, number one, and lack of belief. And we bring hard data, hard facts, hard numbers, transactions, and suddenly the entrepreneurs realize how good they are, but they need to be applied with a method and techniques and focus more on the data instead of just what they think of themselves. I also believe in their defense that there's a small investor ecosystem, so not that many funds, and I would argue that some of the investors are very good at telling them, pressurizing them into thinking they're not that special. So I consider that the bootcamp, one of the jobs is to pump air and oxygen back into their lungs, and so far it seems to work. Good question. I think the first thing that we bring is knowledge that you cannot find on the internet. A lot of founders are every day they get surprised more and more to say, oh, I didn't realize this. There's no magic, there's no juju. We don't have the secret sauce that everybody claims to have. We have a bunch of really good proven processes. If you follow the process with our system, you will get funded on good terms, quickly, efficiently, without falling into the traps that are sadly the common reality for most founders. So the 3 things: one is the process. Fundraising is a process. It's a marathon. There's no quick win. There's no one negotiation with one magic investor coming out of the woodworks, out of nowhere, and giving you a good deal. That might happen once in a million. I wouldn't bet the farm on being that one in a million. So follow a process, which they didn't have before. Most common comments we get is, oh my God, I now have a blueprint. I have a system. I know what I need to do in which order with the timings. And I think that reassures both founders and also the investors that the founders know what investors need to do before they can sign and pay. The second thing is this psychology. Usually founders do not realize what's in it for investors. So the psychology of investing is something which they learn and get enthused by. Once you understand what investors need to hear, even if they don't ask, how they get paid, how's their business doing, how's it work? It's been a bloodbath for a lot of VC funds right now. Most founders don't know what it means. What is it that VCs are suffering right now? And how does that impact both the pace, the conditions, and the interest in particular sectors? So understanding the other side. And then the third one, it's focusing on removing all the noise. Founders are great at talking about their product. It's their baby, it's their comfort zone, they stay there. Nobody builds investor propositions. And yet the audiences are investors, and therefore you need to have something that makes sense to investors. What's in it for the investors? How should they see this? What's the equity story? What is it that investors will get triggered by? So we focus mostly on this, triggering curiosity, triggering questions, which then get founders invited instead of pushing themselves into meetings. So process, understanding the VC world, how it works. 3, triggering curiosity, removing the noise, focusing on an investor proposition. Yes, I mean, we owe this to the great selection of the SEF, to be honest. We do this together always. I find there's a huge amount of companies that are in complex technologies, and I love that. So there's material, there's meat around the bone, as they say, instead of just being another fashion or fad-led startup. I could mention Mattia and Farsia, which is really taking on forecasting and planning and accounting at a scale that even Excel and Microsoft cannot do, and she's winning. Fantastic success story. Everybody said, you'll never raise an angel round from American investors in such a complex technology sector. Wrong. She applied the process. She's an amazing entrepreneur, and she raised from both investors who are stellar angel investors, and she's now tracking really well. Maybe in Croatia I could miss. Everybody knows Albert at Circuit Mess, changing the way education works for young girls to learn electronics, to learn programming, to learn soldering, from circuit board to middleware to software, building really cool stuff like remote controlled cars and mixing decks and Bluetooth and telephones, GSM phones that actually work and you build yourself. Their claim is for the girls. I think it's more for their dads, frankly, who buy this. And Albert's an amazing entrepreneur also to watch for. Somewhere closer to Slovenia would have Dispo market. There's a lot of complexity in logistics, transport. Slovenia is a particularly hot spot for cross-border train, rail, and GPS optimization is one. Dispo market does a fantastic job in that logistics sector. We have another one just come through the bootcamp now. These are kind of three. But overall, I love the fact that you have both substance, so complex technology, great engineering, and then we're just adding that little sauce, translating this into an investment proposition that investors understand and put a high value on. So we worked with the SEF for a few years now. We're super happy with that relationship. I think the SEF is something quite rare that you find in Europe. All the governments talk about supporting their startups and scale-ups and how they're breeding an ecosystem, but SES have been doing this for a long time now and is growing and growing and growing. We work with the governments of Portugal, of the UK, of Ireland, and others, Scandinavia in particular, and the SEF has shown time and time again that they are really committed to the cause, are increasing the resources, and they're happy to hire people like us, specialists, to come over to deliver the very best for the most promising companies. It sounds obvious, but many countries in Europe don't do it. They talk about it, SEF does it. So we're super happy to be partners.